what's going on? Welcome back. My name is Gemma or Gems, and I'm joined here with our very own Evan Smoke from the beginning of the stream. Welcome back, Evan.
Hi, it's good to be back, and it's gonna be my first time casting with you. This is really exciting, and we will have two more matches to bring for you guys for our stream today. How are you feeling, Gemma?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited. The first two sets were awesome. I love to see a game three. Love me some free Pokemon in that last set, which was really fun to watch. But I'm also really excited about this set. If you want to go ahead and get into breaking down these two players and the teams.
Yeah, so this will be we'll be featuring one match from each matchup. We have a total of 8 teams. Therefore, we have 4 matches going on between all our teams, right? So this will be the Castelia Copers. They have a strange name, but it kind of comes from the word coping. And versus the Sunsteel Strikers, a team that seems to be really strong going into the competition. And the players that we are going to feature for this week 1 will be Bennbuild, also known as Braum, versus Mufeng, a player from China, but totally no stranger to online player draft leagues in all these like grassroots communities.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really excited about this matchup right here. I will do my best to try and shelve some of my Sunsteel Striker homerism. If y'all know, if I use a team competitively, it was probably built by Tiki Chase, one of the managers over there. And Alexis is one of my good friends as well. So I will do my best to couch that Sunsteel Striker homerism for this set for commentating. But I'm really excited to take a look at these two teams and see what these two players are bringing.
Yep, so I'm gonna introduce the players a little bit. So Ben, he's most well known for his World's Seniors runner-up run back then when it was VGC 2018. So a pretty similar format in some sense because there's no Dynamax, right? So pretty position-based for most of the game, right? And he also has other accomplishments like recently in Series 12, top 32 in the Liverpool Regionals in Masters. And he was also doing well in the Smogon Player League. That was the second season, runners-up with the post-week pranksters. So just overall a very valuable teammate for the Copers. And on the other end, for Sunsteel Strikers, picking up a sort of a Chinese core with Mufeng as one of them, pretty strong player. Most notably, the most recent like APAC League that just concluded. The top 4 concluded last week. So they managed to get top 4 with the boosters with a 5-1 record in Series 12, and that's nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really interesting to kind of compare these two players. Obviously, both have results from this year 2022, but we also Bennbuild having that experience from, like you mentioned, the more pivot heavy format from 2018. I'm curious to see how that plays in. I can already see from these team setups a lot of Pokemon that like to pivot. You've got the Tapu Koko, as well as the Serena to stop the menace that is Rillaboom. So I'm definitely really excited to kind of see how that matches into this kind of harder Trick Room team from Mufeng. The Indeedee hat, which was such a strong core early on in Sword and Shield. It's really interesting to see it as it continues in this No-Max format. These two Pokemon very early meta defining, and now they get friends like Stakataka, as well as the Regidrago. I am so excited to see that Regidrago and see what kind of work it might be able to put in.
I think it's interesting, I guess, like with that Hatterene being able to go for spread expanding forces with the support from Indeedee. It's probably something that the players missed during this Series 12 format where all the restrictors were just running rampant, especially with that Zacian. Notably, this team composition kind of won a tournament recently organized by Nino Poke Bros, but in the Regidrago slot, it was actually a Landorus Eye piloted by Colin or the Battle Room. Actually, he said it was built by Joe UX9, I'm not too sure, but I'm interested to see how this this Sun Room team kind of works. And so nice to see a Ligon like kind of jump into the action. So yeah, speaking of jumping into the action, let's get right into the match and see how these players fare against each other.
For sure. So jumping into it, we're gonna have this game. It looks like it's gonna be from the perspective here. I believe this is
Should
gonna
be
be Bennbuild.
Ben.
Yeah, we're gonna have Bennbuild's perspective here. So right off the bat, let's see what these leads are going to look like. We will have really cool balls there. The Lilligant plus Torkoal lead, immediately threatening the after you eruption damage versus the Urshifu and the Chandelure matchup right here. Chandelure really interesting into that Torkoal, being able to have the flash fire ability, boost yourself up, and then fire back a more special, effective, or more powerful fire type attack.
Ben seems to be telling Mufeng, like, I'll give you a choice, right? Do you want to proc my Flash Fire? And then I can then threaten the KO onto the Lilligan. Lilligan also notably being able to go for something like an After You in Eruption is a really cool tech. Back in the fun days when there are no Dynamax at all. At the same time, this Urshifu reveals itself to be the Dark type. Ben doesn't want it to stay around, possibly doesn't want to break a potential focus sash, and switches into the Nihilego, but the Lilligan goes straight for that sleep powder, connects more importantly, and puts that Chandelier to sleep, and the Torkoal is then able to move.
Yeah, for sure. An incredible call right here, going for that sleep powder, followed up by the earth power right here, which does a little over 55% into that chandelier, likely just wanting to remove it so that the barrier for follow or after you eruptions just will kind of be gone in the end game.
Hello
But
there.
awesome tech there from the Lilligan coming out with that sleep powder. Puts on a lot of pressure just because of the chlorophyll ability being super fast. It's kind of similar to the Venusaurs that we've seen in these formats, but it has the extra utility of that after you move, which will let the Torkoal move immediately after the Lilligant, which is the fastest thing on the field right now.
Yeah, and Bennbuild kind of allows that red Nihilego to come in for free, but at the cost of he being able, having to protect here, being afraid of yet another sleep powder, as Mufeng has like no other reason to go for it, so it just goes for that sleep powder. Wow, Chandelier actually, it took a turn of sleep last turn, manages to wake up here and goes for the heat wave. And do we see that sash on that Lilligan? Yes, we do. So Lilligan will then, because of that sash, be able to fire off more sleep powders and threaten the team by always being the fastest on the field. Torkoal having access to that earth power is just so useful, and just within these 2 turns gets that 2-hit KO onto that Chandelier, removing it altogether.
Yeah, that was a really crazy turn in terms of RNG right there. Both the first turn weak with the combination Heat Wave burn onto the Lilligant, kind of completely invalidating the Focus Sash. I guess at the very least, it's able to stick around the rest of that turn, but because it had already moved, it functionally was just a one-hit KO right there. Really rough break there for Mufeng from an RNG standpoint, but this Torkoal now can kind of continue to put on pressure, and now you have your Hatterene on the field against a Dark-type Urshifu, which looks pretty scary for that Dark-type Urshifu if it wasn't carrying this one particular move that we just got a little inside access to.
Yeah, so with Lilligan out of the way, just an unfortunate burn in the previous turn, Bennbuild has both really quick, very fast Pokemon on the field, and the best thing to do now would be to try and stop Trick Room. So here comes the Meteor Beam. The Torkoal did protect, so if this went into Torkoal's protect, Hatterene might even be free to set up that Trick Room if the Urshifu does not take out that Hatterene. But we do see a Poison Jet and a berry reveal. I don't remember the berry right off the top of my head.
Same. I don't recall the poison type berry, but it also looks like
Kabia.
Yeah, it could be a berry right there. Also, but based off of the damage right there, it looks like it might have actually lived that, regardless of the berry, doing just under 50%. Perhaps it was a damage roll, but yeah, really big stuff there, being able to get that up. You still have your full health Torkoal now, able to go for a eruption on this turn without much of a resistance on the other side.
Wow, like amazing tech like coming out from the Hatterene, right? Just being able to survive and set up that Trick Room. So on hindsight, Ben could have double targeted into the Hatterene to have a more secure like knockout. And the Eruption just takes a one-hit KO down onto the Urshifu. It is not the Sash variant. From our perspective, we are able to see that it's a choice band variant, but just really sus that Poison Jab just doesn't do enough. I think probably because it's not stab.
Yeah, the lack of stab there really hurting out Urshifu, as well as so much of the utility of Urshifu also comes from the ability to crit with its signature moves. And that might actually be a better path forward, unless you want to proc the very first of the Cassia Berry there for the to stop the poison resistances going forward if you're looking to double into it in a game 2 or something like that. But yeah, really interesting stuff. But it also would have locked that Urshifu permanently into the poison jab, which, depending on what the rest of this team looks like, could have been really bad with the stack attack on the back.
Yeah, that's really well said. So here with so many turns of Trick Room left and Toko just in complete control, just fires off more and more eruptions as the Hatterene does show that expanding force. This is single target, and actually with that very high special defense stat from Nihilego, it's able to survive. So the Power Gem is actually able to take that return KO onto the Toko. And yeah, I think the upside here is that Ben does get to see that last Pokemon reveal from Mufeng's side, but still with so many turns of Trick Room, it's just really tricky to be able to get this game. I think very important to stop that Trick Room from going up, and Mufeng gets exactly what he wants.
Yeah, for sure. With all these techs kind of coming out in game number one, it is
Oh.
going to be really tough. We see that it is now that Regidrago coming out under Trick Room. It seems like Nihilego's best chance here is potentially a double protect, and even then, you don't have any moves that do double target damage, so you're going to be in a pretty rough spot from Bennbuild's perspective for the rest of this game.
Yep, so this will be like Bennbuild's time to try and get as much information as he can. You know, the Regidrago is forced to go for a move here. Actually opts to go for something like a Dragon Pulse. Just maybe doesn't want to show too much information. And here comes the double protect. Yeah, I think this is just the only way out. And after that, you know, see maybe try and reveal any items coming out from that Regidrago, but does not get that double protect. And the Hatterene is just able to take that KO and get a very clean game one from Mufeng, you know, just by setting up Trick Room.
Yeah, for sure. I loved all the text that got brought out in that game right there. We got to see Lilligant going for the sleep powder. We also got to see the Hatterene showing off of its poison, its poison resist berry. Just kind
Yeah.
of all of the text brought out right here. I think it's really smart, especially in a meta that's early been defined by Pokemon like Nihilego that are so dominant with as a poison type attacker, as well as Naganadel.
Yeah, I just wonder why like Nihilego has been so prominent, right? All throughout this early Series 9 no max meta. We do see a change up in Mufeng's strategy, going for that Hatterene and Indeedee lead, a trusted and true way to set up Trick Room with a follow me. And Ben actually switches things a little bit, brings the Chandelier together with the Urshifu this time, you know, wanting to threaten as much damage as possible with that for the choice band item. So yeah, like curious to see how, you know, Ben tries to stop Trick Room, since Mufeng's team is so obviously a hard Trick Room team, and that's the best strategy for him to win the game. Ben's team, you know, has very little options to really play around in Trick Room and even try and stall it out.
Yeah, for sure. And we see one of the most interesting techs and one of the only ways to shut down this Indeedee Hatterene lead coming out here from Bennbuild. The Wicked Blow is also going to be going into this Hatterene, but redirected into that Indeedee. It does not live it with the Choice Band that's doing a ton of damage, and also given the Poison Resist Barrier, that's likely going to be doing more to Hatterene on next turn. And we see the Imprison come out from the Chandelier here, blocking any option for the Hatterene going for a Trick Room, but Hatterene calls it. Mufeng calls it, goes for the Dazzling Gleam, and takes the one-hit KO onto that Urshifu.
Yeah, it can be obvious, right? Like when you have a chandelier on your team, you know, harkening back to the previous series, that, you know, some of it do carry that imprison with that Trick Room, and Mufeng just doesn't call Ben's bluff and just goes straight for the Dazzling Gleam, taking that one hit KO, trading the KO on the Indeedee down onto the Urshifu. Like, no, the Indeedee like didn't have a focus sash, right? Because the Lilligant is the one holding on to it. So yeah, like with that Hatterene just moving and not setting up Trick Room, it's just very commanding. But here, two switch-ins come in, the Stakataka from Mufeng's side and the Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko will then like pressure quite a lot of damage onto the opposing side.
Yeah, for sure. Tapu Koko being able to hit really hard here, as well as pivot quite a bit with access to moves like Volt Switch. You don't really need something like an Electro Web in a game like this where your opponent wants to be as slow as possible, but it is really nice utility for other teams. But we will just see the Thunderbolt come out here into that Stack Attack. A great physical defense, not so great special defense there, taking a ton of damage and getting knocked out right there.
Wow, that's really impressive. So yeah, Hatterene retaliates then with this expanding force. Yeah, interesting that it doesn't want to go for Dazzling Beam to spread more damage, but targets only on that Chandelier. Seems to be pretty like a 2-hit KO. So yeah, it has to try its best to, you know, go up against all these really fast and offensive attackers. So yeah, unfortunate that Stakataka isn't that bulky, like, you know, all things considered, and just goes down like that because it really threatens the Chandelier with that KO and might even like survive, through to allow either the Hatterene or the Stakataka to go for that important trick room.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, with the Imprison still in the field, not being able to go for that trick room, that was really Mufeng's only option, was to try and take out that Chandelier. And we actually just see it's going to be a forfeit here.
Whoa.
Early on in the game with still 3 Pokemon, and we're going to get right into game number 3 between Bennbuild and Mufeng. We really saw Ben having the option of being able to handle Trick Room last game, and if that continues, that's obviously going to be really, really, really difficult for Mufeng going forward. A lot of this team seems kind of based around that, but it looks like it's going to be the Lilligant Hatterene lead right here, so threatening both some speed as well as Trick Room.
This is like girl power from Mufeng's side. And what an interesting adjustment, right? Because you can, switch into that Torkoal to threaten like a sleep powder if you call things correctly. You should know by now, if the Urshifu doesn't have a focus sash, that it has that choice band item, and targeting a sleep powder into that slot should be safe. Oh, but you also have to be aware, that Bennbuild does have that Tapu Koko in the back, right, to set up that electric terrain and prevent all Pokemon that are grounded to go to sleep. So yeah, interested to see what these players do. It was so much back and forth in the game 1 and game 2, and now we are in this game 3.
Yeah, for sure. I love a game 3. I love seeing how these players adjust to one another, and we will see the Tapu Koko is the switch in here. So nothing will be put to sleep that's grounded. The sleep powder comes out. Unfortunately, Chandelier is able to get the Imprison off, and now Hatterene's likely going to fail its attempt at setting Trick Room. Yeah, we see that there. So really, really rough turn there for Mufeng. Great play by Ben. It was something that was broadcast in the previous game, having Tapu Koko there, threatening a bunch of damage. So it's something you had to be in the back of your mind, but it is still that feels like a 50-50. Like, did they bring the Koko or not? It did so much damage last time, but does it just lose to Lilligant Torkoal lead? All those questions just kind of come up, but having in the back, I think, is a great play there for Ben.
It's like just a very even game state. Like nothing was, no damage was taken on either side. So both players still have a lot to play for. I think the game is definitely not over, even though it looks so terrible for Mufeng's side. But we do see the Lilligant going for Solar Beam seems to be like the most powerful grass move that it can opt for. Goes into the Tapu Koko. Does it get the KO? It does not, and Tapu Koko is then able to retaliate with this Thunderbolt. Whoa, that is a one-hit KO onto the Torkoal. Oh, that's so strong. We know from our end that this is the Choice Specs Tapu Koko. That's so impressive. As the Heat Wave goes once again into that Lilligant, and I just don't want to see that burn again because it was so unfortunate last time.
Yeah, it really was. Mufeng was able to play that game 1 around the burn despite that, and was still able to kind of maneuver around. But yeah, in this position, you still have the Imprison up on the Chandelier, which makes things really, really difficult. You don't have any, I think at this point, you know that your stack attack goes down to the combination. Lilligant's on like 1 HP right now, and the best you can potentially do is get a Solar Beam off into something. It seems like the only attacking move from this Lilligant. So really, really difficult positioning here, and I think it's going to be interesting to see kind of the best way to position around this. That Thunderbolt just does so much. I know Torkoal's special defense isn't necessarily the best, but still crazy attack. But after you, the tech right here.
Yeah, so not trying to go for any attacks here, just like from the Lilligant side, goes for that after you, and the Rock Slide connects. I think it's quite important to connect on the Tapu Koko, and it just works, right? The Tapu Koko goes down like that, isn't able to dish off those very strong Thunderbolts in electric terrain. Takataka reveals both the Life Orb and the Beast Boost to be the defense Beast Boost. Doesn't really help here in with this Heat Wave. Oh my gosh, because of the stun set up by the Torkoal, this Heat Wave does so much damage, but luckily enough doesn't take out that Stakataka. It lives to see another day, but his days are just numbered with this Urshifu coming in.
Yeah, it lives to see another day, but at what cost here? No ability to move first yet again. The Imprison is still active on the field. It really feels like this Chandelier is really just kind of shutting down everything that Mufeng wants to do with Trick Room on this team, and with these as the last 2 Pokemon, both of them are too slow to get an attack off before the 2 opposing Pokemon, as well as Ben's fourth and final Pokemon in the back still has taken no damage whatsoever. So this is going to be a really, really hard uphill battle from here.
Yeah, so like, and also unfortunate that that rock slide missed onto the chandelier. We will never know like whether he could have taken that KO or not. So Ben actually opts to go for the wicked blow into the Stakataka slot instead of the Hatterene, and you know that it's imprisoned block, right? So you can't go for any other move. So I think the safe that's like probably a good play to do. The heat wave thankfully connects. I think this chandelier is just like the heat wave is just so powerful all the way through, does so much damage into the Hatterene. Hatterene is forced to go for an attacking move, goes for the Dazzling Gleam to take out that Urshifu, but still it's Hatterene against the world right now.
Yeah, it's Hattering against the world. It's slower than everything else. It's within like any damaging move whatsoever. As long as both these Pokemon have a guaranteed attack, and we see that they do not. So that will go ahead and be the end of that set with Bennbuild coming back after a game one loss and doing really, really well to kind of claw that back and decide on the way through that team. So really interesting stuff. Well played by both players.
Yeah, it was overall a very fast-paced game, right? Like, it's very like dependent on Mufeng setting up Trick Room or not, and then this Imprison is really good tech to in like this no max format to shut down all these Trick Room setters, and the Chandelier like just proves to be a good MVP on um Ben's side, always dishing out damage like reliably. I mean semi-reliably since Heatwave can miss, but it's been hitting all of them and just taking very important KOs for Ben right there. And this actually brings the match uh, up like 2-6. So the strikers actually like going into this match are already at 6 points. So they have already won the week. But Ben, kind of is able to help the Copers get that extra point. I think all these points matter in these long team draft leagues, and like towards the end, it might count into differential.
Yeah, for sure. You never want to give up on a week. There's the possibility that it ends up being a tiebreaker for the playoffs, or any other number of things could shake out. As well as it's always good to get good practice. So really glad we got to feature that one, even if it ended up being in a set that was decided between the two teams. It was still a really, really fun team, and I really liked both of those going into it. But yeah, congratulations to Bennbuild on the win there, as well as the Sunsteel Strikers on the win for the week.
Yeah, both sides. And yeah, just really very interesting teams coming out from both ends, and I'm yeah excited. Like I was cool. It was very cool to see how that Trick Room team worked, but like having that in prison just really shut it down, and well done. Like props to Ben for being able to do that. So right after this, we will have our last match for this week one. This will be between Sable Eye VGC from the Lunala Dream Eaters and Dark George from a strange team called the Celtics of Toko. So don't go away.